Koreans are obsessed with plastic surgery.
That Hyundai is a very, very bad place or a place that you shouldn't go or visit. Like a lot of people have experienced racism.
Everyone's skinny, everyone fits the same Korean beauty standard, which I feel like that's just not true.
Living here, it's cheaper than other countries.
Is that it's perfectly safe.
When they say that Korean people are really cold.
I'm from Norway. This one might be a little controversial, but a lot of foreigners like to, I don't want to call it rage bait, but love to post about how nightlife in Korea is like a lot of people have experienced racism. Like I cannot speak for all foreigners, of course. I've also been rejected to places just as a foreigner. You know, they say they've had issues with foreigners before and they don't accept them and whatever. Some places, especially in like Gangnam or like Apgujeong, Rodeo, these areas, a lot of foreigners seem to think that they don't accept foreigners at all if you go there. Which is not true. I think it's more about dress code, dress for the occasion. You know, if you're going somewhere kind of fancy and you know, like just be well dressed, bring your ID. Don't feel like people bring like their driver's license from their country and then they don't accept it and they're like, oh my God, like that's so racist. But just bring like your ARC or your passport, actual ID.
I'm from the US, I'm from Florida. For me, I think the biggest lie that I hear about Korea is that all Korean women are this small size. Everyone's skinny, everyone fits the same Korean beauty standard, which I feel like that's just not true. I've seen so many Koreans with different eye shapes, different nose shapes, different, I guess, lineage and clans that they come from. I feel like it's so arrogant for us to just kind of put this idea that everyone has to follow this specific Korean beauty standard. I feel like it's just not true. The Korean beauty standard tends to only affect middle school people. I feel like middle school kids who care about looking like a K-pop idol. But once people become who they are and a whole different person, they don't really care about the Korean beauty standard.
Mexico. One of the biggest ones is that living here, it's cheaper than other countries. Like traveling, it's cheap. But living here, I think it's not that cheap. So that might be one, yeah. I live at the dorm. At my dorms, we don't have a kitchen. So as we don't have a kitchen, I need to eat 3 meals a day outside. And of course, I could go and look for cheap places to eat. But also, like, you're walking, oh, cute cafe, oh, like this and that. So yeah, that might be the first thing. And also at the beginning, I didn't have the climate card. So it was recharge. And that was also kind of getting my budget a little off. So, but yeah, now I do have the climate card, so everything is fine, yeah.
You talked about the climate card, like what is that? Can you talk more about it?
Okay, so climate card is this like T-money, but this when you pay an amount, so you can use it, for example, for a month. And I think now you can just pay like maybe a day or 7 days, something like that. So it's just to use the transport. And yeah, really convenient.
I'm from the US. As someone who's studying like for biotech and business, the biggest lie I was told is that there were like working opportunities here. As a foreigner, you can't even like get an internship. You can't like, there's a term called hyuak, which means like leave of absence. And a lot of times students take a leave of absence to do internships, but as a foreigner, you can't take leave of absence, so there's not a lot of internship opportunity, which you need for professional development and for a career. So as someone who's a student here, like that's what I'm looking to do, but I can't even really do internship.
And has that, like made you want to go back to America?
Honestly, a little bit. In America, a lot of students, do internships during summer and during the break, but I feel very limited here than I thought I would be. So I kind of am having the thought of like maybe I should go back to the States. I think if you come from like a country where there's like a lot of opportunity, you should come to maybe Korea for like exchange, because it is kind of hard for foreigners here to get jobs. Unfortunately, yeah.
I'm from Serbia. The most prominent one I would say is I've heard a lot of people that they fetishize white people, whether it's dating or whether it's everyday life. But though I've been here only for a short amount of time, I found that it's quite the opposite. Unless you're in this sort of small subset group, which really are kind of the weeaboos version of America boos, or however you want to call them, right? I found that they even have an inclination towards not interacting with us much. Partially is because they don't believe that we know their language, right? And I kind of do understand that because I don't know Korean, right? But I found that even in other countries, right, where English is not that prominent as Korea, right, where not everyone knows it, I still didn't have the same sort of sentiment and same sort of feeling that I felt here.
So I've been fluent in Korean for a while, and even I know that there is room for improvement, especially when it comes to picking up natural phrases, slangs, or just staying sharp. And that's when I discovered LingoPie, and it has been a game changer for me. Instead of just watching passive Korean shows like I used to, LingoPie makes it interactive and fun, and I can still enjoy my favorite dramas and variety shows, but now I'm actively learning by watching. One of the standout features is the interactive subtitles. If there's a word I don't quite catch, I can tap on it for instant pronunciation and translation. So it's a perfect way for me to brush up on those occasional words I might miss. And what I love the most is how LingoPie saved those words as flashcards so I can review them for later. And the AI pronunciation checker is also amazing. And even though I'm fluent, it's a great tool to perfect my accent and keep me speaking naturally. So it's like having a language coach with me while watching my favorite shows. LingoPie offers over 3,000 movies and shows across 12 languages. And it's all tailored to help you learn naturally. And also what is even more amazing is that you can even connect your Netflix account with LingoPie. So whether you're learning more slangs, looking forward to perfecting your pronunciation, or just staying sharp, it's the most fun way to stay on top of your game. So if you're looking forward to improving your Korean or just any language, try out LingoPie for free. Click the link in the description to start your free 7-day trial and also get a special discount. And trust me, it's the most enjoyable way to stay fluent. Let's jump right into the video.
I'm from Chicago, USA. Well, I don't know about lie, but I had a big perception that Korea was like this huge fashion hub. And while I like the fashion here, I feel like it's very clean and one aesthetic, like business, professional, nice. But I'm kind of more into vintage and like stuff like that. So I guess I was kind of hoping there'd be more shopping, but I've only kind of picked up a couple of things here, so.
I'm from Morocco. So one of the biggest lies I've been told in Korea was that Koreans are obsessed with plastic surgery. Like, I don't think it's true. Of course, like people here like take good care of themselves and everything, but it's not like everybody's running to the good doctor or like everybody's trying to be a K-pop idol. Like, of course, skincare treatment is a big thing here, and people actually like take care of their looks and everything, but going to do surgery is a little bit more of a stereotype in here, kind of. Of course, there are people that do surgery, but it's not like everybody does it, right? One other lie that I like to add is that a lot of people here claimed that Korean tap water is kind of dirty. I don't think it's true, because while some people here might experience some, dryness or damage to their hair texture or anything, but Korean water is one of the most cleanest waters among other countries. Like, Korean water has some minerals, it's called hard water. Like, it has some kind of elements like magnesium and calcium that might damage the hair texture over time. So people claim that they're gonna lose their hair or their hair is gonna fall out, but it's actually not the truth for me, I think.
I'm from California. I think one of the biggest lies I've been told about Korea is that it's perfectly safe. I feel like on social media and TikTok, things like that, everyone says it's perfectly safe to go out at night at like 2 a.m., 4 a.m., but I've had my fair share of bad experiences to not believe that. I've been followed a couple times to like my Airbnb at night and had weird conversations with people on subways, so I don't think Korea is 100% safe.
What type of conversations have you had like on the subway?
I think one time there was this man, he was about like 20, 30 years older than me, and he was asking me weird questions like if I had a boyfriend, why I'm in Korea, what station I'm getting off at, and he followed me off the station where I was getting off at and continued to talk to me for a really long time. So things like that, I've had situations where I felt a little bit uncomfortable in Korea.
London, when they say that Korean people are really cold, because actually like I think they look cold because like a lot of the older people kind of have like resting bitch face, but actually if there's like an issue or you need help, they're gonna help you out really, really quickly. I think especially as foreigners, like a lot of the time they do actually want to care for you. I had a lot of instances with like older Korean people really helping me out when they didn't need to, so I think that's the biggest lie.
Chile, South America. This one is controversial. That Honda is a very, very bad place or a place that you shouldn't go or visit. Actually, Honda is beautiful, okay? Like, I know there's like this big stigma regarding like clubs in Honda and Honda boys and whatever, but actually, Honda is a very nice place to go, like especially during the morning time. There's a lot of cafes you can visit, like such amazing restaurants, like a lot of sometimes pop-up stores, and it has a good vibe. So even if you go like for a drink at night or if you want to go to
club, if you're not in the intention of doing anything like hookups or anything like that, you can still have a great time with your friends. So I know a lot of people maybe are gonna disagree with me, but actually a lot of people, my friends, they agree with me. Like you can actually have fun in there. So let's not demonize this area because it actually can be very good.
What is the most exaggerated thing about living in Korea?
I think people say the public transportation is super quiet, and that's never been true for me. Especially if you get on like the buses, if you're going hiking and you're with the older people, the ajumas and ajushis, they are so noisy and they're all cackling in the back, making jokes to themselves, as well as like if you are coming home from work and you get on the bus with a whole bunch of students because you know they fill those buses up as well as the subway, and boom, there's gonna be conversations, little girls giggling. I feel like it's quite a noisy place. Koreans are very noisy and like, I guess, extravagant people. That's who they are. They're not as quiet as people make them out to be.
Well, I think whenever you kind of move abroad, unless you're just like on vacation, but the honeymoon phase can be really fun, but there is a lot of like government kind of work you have to do and you're trying to immigrate or anything like that. So yeah, like I was in Japan for the past year and I spent so much time in like offices, and I'm starting that up again now, like so many things to register and stuff. So I guess you should like prepare to have a lot more work to do than just like playing around.
All Koreans are like super nice and like that they'll all like get along with you. Everyone is so nice like in like the beginning when you meet, but then when you start to develop like deeper connections, you can see how because you might be a foreigner, they can treat you differently in like a mean way or like a less respectful way. Which I think if you really learn the language and like you learn the culture, you kind of see how like you're kind of viewed a little bit less sometimes in some cases, which can be, you know, really bad, like really upsetting when you have certain friendships that feel very ungenuine, or they don't feel like, you feel like that friend doesn't actually, you know, respect you. Because you are different from them, which is unfortunate, yeah.
I think people have told me that everyone in Korea is dressed so fashionably, and even though that is true, people are dressed really put together, like more like minimally chic, but I think there's also so many people out wearing slides, Uggs, Crocs, so you can feel comfortable wearing whatever you want.
That people comes thinking like living here will be like, oh, K-drama, and it's fine to have the fantasy and live on the fantasy, but like it's not like that. I'm not saying it's not cool living here and being here. It's really cool, it's amazing, but just take the K-drama fantasy because that might ruin a little bit your vision of how Korea is.
So one of the most exaggerated thing is that Korean people only eat kimchi and spicy food. Like for me before I came to Korea, I only thought that really people eat spicy food and kimchi every day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But when I came here, it was actually different. There are a lot of mild soups or a lot of meat, like samgyeopsal, bulgogi, and rice dishes, bibimbap, and everything. So yeah, I think that's one of the most exaggerated things, like that people only eat spicy food in here. And if you don't like spicy food, like you can survive in here, you won't starve. There's a lot of other dishes that are actually really good.
Might be very cliche, but the first thing I can think of is definitely foreigners coming thinking that everyone on the street look like their favorite actor, their favorite idol. This is really overdone and people know this, that's not the reality.
Did you think Koreans were shy, and what was the experience?
A lot of my Korean friends, definitely like meeting them the first few times, were more in their shells and like a lot more shy than when I make friends like in the UK. People are like immediately a bit more open. I think Koreans tend to be more closed off. I think that's just a cultural thing. And I think that kind of seems like shy, but in fact they're just a bit more like reserved. I think that's like a bit of a difference.
Yeah, I think it is true. I mean, Korean people are not very, well, even though like I was mentioning before, like Korean people are always like, we're always and have been always like willing to help me and approach me. But it is true that Korean people are a little bit more, they are not like very willing into jumping into saying hi to people or like being super like friendly immediately. They are a little bit reserved. I think that is more like about confidence and also like getting the experience of approaching especially foreigners, you know. But I would say that when it comes to dating or like meeting people, like, I don't know, in the clubs or something, or apps, Koreans are not that shy, actually. If you know what I mean, right? They're not that shy. So if you people, you know what I'm talking about, right, viewers? I think it depends on the context, but yeah, compared to, of course, Westerners, I think that Korean people are more reserved and like not very like open immediately as us. So it is kind of true, yeah.
I would say for the most part, they do have a culture of interacting a little bit less when you don't know each other that well, right? Especially initially, right? They stay away from needless physical contact, which might be very familiar in Europe, right? Whether it's even handshakes or whether it's some sort of simple familiarities. But I would say once you actually get through this sort of initial barrier, they're maybe even more open compared to other East Asian nations like Japan, right? So I would say they have quite this sort of openness that takes a while to get through. But when it comes to physicality, at least, and especially initially, I would say they're quite a bit shy.
Koreans are kind of, I think they are shy, especially when making friendships in the beginning. They can be a little shy to talk to you. I think just most people in general are very shy when they first meet. I think in the States we have more just extroverted people that will just try to talk to everyone, but Koreans usually are more reserved, and it takes a little bit more time to build up a friendship with Korean people, I think.
Actually, I never thought Koreans were shy. I don't really understand that perspective. I think a lot of people have that perspective if they don't know Korean and they only see it from an English perspective. Like if they think everyone's gonna speak to them only in English, then I think, yeah, Koreans are shy to speak English. I think Koreans learn English in a very grammatical sense, where they're constantly learning only grammar. So basically, like, they stress about having and an. Those small details make them panic. So that's often why they don't feel comfortable speaking English, because of the school system really is very strict on grammar. So I think Koreans, oh my God, it's moving. But if you actually speak Korean and you put yourself out of your comfort zone, Koreans aren't that shy. They're actually very extroverted, and they talk a lot.
I'm introverted for the extroverted people, but I'm extroverted for the introverted people. So people here might be shy. I think also the shyness comes through the language barrier. Because for example, as I don't speak Korean that very well, I might approach them in English, and they don't. People speaks really good English here, really good English. But the people that don't, they get shy, and they are just like, oh no, it's because I don't know that good English. So I think that's also part of the shyness of the people here.
What is the surprising thing you've heard about the Korean beauty or Korean fashion that you were told but turned out not to be true?
So before I came to Korea, I was told that a lot of people here wear black colors everywhere you go. So it might actually be true, but it's only, I think for me, it's only in winter. In winter, the weather can get pretty cold. It's freezing cold, and the temperatures get below zero, and the nature is kind of lifeless, and sometimes it's cloudy and stuff. So for me, personally, I don't think about what I'm gonna wear. I probably have 3 jackets. They're probably all black, so I kind of blending with the people. But once it becomes spring or summer, you're gonna see a lot of colors, like pastel colors, or a lot of different kind of fashions. There are people that like that old classic fashion or oversized fits. And actually fashion differs from every neighborhood you come here. For example, if you go to Itaewon, people in Itaewon don't dress like people in Hongdae or Gangnam, right? So Itaewon, they more have that kind of influence, international influence. They like to try more experimental outfits, kind of. In Hongdae, there is kind of that youthful or trendy kind of fashion. In Gangnam, it's more about luxury fashion, elegant coats and designer bags and stuff.